My name is Mahdi Dagmichi Firuzjai. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science, McEwan University in Edmonton, Canada. In this presentation, I present one of my current research work in persistent malware analysis. In this work, we introduce pattern process termination and adversarial technique for persistent malware. This work is a collaboration between the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity and McEwan University. What is malware? Actually, malware is a software that attacks a computer system for malicious purposes, including operation interruption, data theft or manipulation, or covert access. To survive, normally, malware needs to evade defense and avoid being detected. So different techniques are used by adversary to this purpose. So by these techniques, a malware can be changed to a persistent malware. So after an initial successful execution of the malware, persistent malware remains on the target system and automatically restart after each system reboots. So normally to survive and remain persistent, adversaries need to make some change on hardware or any part of the system files in victims system. One of the techniques used by adversary is manipulating the system process. What is a process? Process is an active program under execution and is assigned a set of resources like registers, memory, I/O buffers, or etc. A process can be created in OS kernel automatically by system files or by any application which is run by a user. For example, when you run an application on your computer system, for example, browsing internet, in this case, that application make one or several processes on kernel to perform that application's requirement. So normally in kernels, a process is given an integer which identifies that process. This integer is called process ID or process identifier. And also a process to do a job maybe needs to create some sub-processes which are called children of that process to do the job. So we have ID for process, which is called PID, and also we have ID for parent of that process, which is called parent process ID or PPID. The main idea of our adversarial technique, which we introduced in our research work, is explained as here. We call this technique as a parent process termination. Actually, when a process exists or terminates, normally all allocated resources like physical or virtual memory, any open files or I/O buffers are freed up by the OS because we have hundreds or thousands processes normally running on the system, maybe at the same time or one by one sequentially. And if each resources assigned to one process is locked and held by that process, even the process is terminated, definitely we are in the resource shortage. So normally, after terminating a process, OS frees up that resource and used for other processes. One of the resources which are reused is process ID. In Unix and also Windows OSs, when a process terminates, the children of that process are allowed to continue. Even the parent process is terminated, even the parent process exits, the children process can continue and can work or perform their operation. So for purpose of the persistence and adversary, one of the techniques used by adversary for persistent malware is that killing or terminating of a malware process in the system to hide or to remove any artifacts or information which is available for that malware process. So the main idea in our work is that first, we run a malware and make some malicious malicious process in OS kernel. That malicious process creates some children processes, maybe benign or maybe malicious process, and those children processes operate some malicious activities. So, and while the children processes are doing those malicious operations, the parent process terminates. This is the main idea in which we used and to make our malware as a persistent malware. Let's explain more in this animation how parent process termination adversary technique works. Please assume that a malware infects a system. So actually, the adversary could infect the system, and the malware is successfully delivered to victim system, is executed and running on victim system. Now, the malware makes some processes that we call it persistent malware process, and that process creates some children processes. So this is the malware process, and that process makes some children processes here. While it is done, the adversary terminates the malware process, maybe by sending some killing command to the victim system to kill the process, or maybe automatically by design, the malware terminates its process when some children is created. So now the malware parent process is already removed or terminated in the system, but the children process are allowed to continue and running. So that children processes operate some malicious activities, some malicious action done by the children process, and now the protection systems, antivirus or any protections software or processes running on victim system can detect malicious activity, and by analyzing the forensics information and forensics artifacts, that the security engineers could very easily detect that processes which made those operations, and they can detect or remove or kill that processes. But what about the origin? What about the origin or the parent process who created that children process? The main problem happened here. We already showed by doing some experiences over different memory forensic tools, including volatility, autopsy, and redline. We showed that, unfortunately, the current memory forensics, they are not able to detect artifacts related to terminated process. So any process which terminated before getting memory dump from our system, there is no evidence, there is no artifacts available for those processes in our system. So because of that, this is a limitation of the current memory forensics tools. So we actually use, or it can be mentioned misused, we use this limitation of the current memory forensics to hide artifacts of persistent malware running or executed on a system by removing or by terminating any malware processes. We are able to remove and hide artifacts regarding to that malware. To show the possibility of our technique, we ran different malwares. These detect and select those malwares from Das Malware. This website provides some malwares freely available online, and you can take that one. We ran all of those malwares on virtual machines, and for each machine we got memory dump 2 times before running a malware and after running a malware. So for each malware we got 2 memory dump before running malware and after running malware, and for each virtual machine we ran just 1 malware. To get the memory dump, we use FTK imager, and all malware artifacts, we analyze them in a Windows machine and use volatility memory forensics for analyzing the memory dump. We use volatility because volatility is the open source and also is very well-known memory forensic tools used in OT system and also IT systems. Okay, to explain our technique or PPT, parent process termination implementation, it has completely 3 steps. First, running malware. Second, terminate malware. As I mentioned, it can be done by sending a kill process or terminate process running or creating by adversary from outside of the system, or by design, we can design a malware automatically terminates after creating some children's. In our experience, we use the first solution. So actually, after infecting the system and running the malware, adversary sent a kill process command to terminate the malware process in our system. And after that, after some children, 1 or more children created, the malicious operation are done by the children, and we extract memory dump and analyze the artifacts related to that malware. We could find some malware exactly proper for our purpose. We follow these 3 steps to run the malware, kill the malware process, not the malware process in our kernel, and then got memory dump to analyze our technique to make a malware as a persistent malware. One of the malware which we successfully used to implement PPT was both speed malware. The MD5 of this malware is already available in VirusTotal website. This malware process, then we execute this malware. Then this malware process creates 3 children processes under the name of tab clean up exe, tab reports exe, and tab optimize exe. And all of these 3 children processes are malicious processes. As you can see here, this memory dump shows the running process on the system. As you can see in that column, the name of the process, you can see that the name of these 3 children processes. As you can see, the third column shows the process ID. So each of them has different process ID. And the fourth column shows the parent of each process, the ID of the parent of each process, so or PPID. If you check for all of these 3 processes, you can see that they have the same parent process ID, 1244, and 1244. But if you check over the running process in our kernel, in this memory dump, there is no process with the ID of 1244. What does it mean? It means that there was one process with this ID, 1244, but that process terminated before dumping this memory, before extracted this memory dump. that process terminated before. So there is no information available here to find that process. We did some other ran other plugins to find if there is any information about that process. Yes, we could find more evidence about that process. For example, a process with ID 1244 made some connection scanning to make internet connection to the different website or IP address. As you can see, 4 internet connection tries made by that process to 3 different IP addresses. We checked the IP address and we found that these 3 IP addresses belong to malicious servers. All of them are malicious servers. So that process made internet connection to the adversary out of that our network. Also, we could find that this process 1244 already made socket scanning before. But unfortunately, all of our endeavors to find more information about that process were unsuccessful. So by checking the IDR module, the list of all DLL files, API hooks, we cannot find any information or any process with the ID of 1244. What does it mean? It means that by current memory forensic tools, we are not able to identify any terminated process before taking the memory down. So this is the limitation of the current memory forensics tools. We use that one and show that by this technique, PPID, we are able to make a malware persistent and hide all evidence or artifacts needed to identify that malware. So to summarize the technique, I can mention that PPT actually is not an attack, but it is classified as a technique, adversarial technique to make a malware persistent. In PPT adversarial technique, adversary is able to obfuscate the ancestry information about a process, a malicious process, and hide its parent information. So this technique is a very available technique to make a malware as a persistent malware. The result of our research already published as a paper and with the title of Parent Process Termination and Adversarial Technique for Persistent Malware by the Journal of Cybersecurity Technology, and it is available online. The resources which we used for for this presentation are listed here, and thank you very much for your presentation. My email is available here, and I would be grateful if you have any suggestion, if you have any idea, or if you have any collaboration suggestion. I eagerly waiting for any suggestion to continue or extend our work in malware analysis. And thank you for your attention, and I hope this presentation was useful for you to get some idea or share a new idea with you. Thank you very much and good luck.